Well, here we are, another Friday evening. We're all the way into March 2021. It's hard to believe, but here we are, and it's spring for 2021, which is crazy. For those of y'all out there that know what that means for the sky, you know it means galaxy season, and we may or may not talk about that tonight. In fact, I know we will. Because I know what's coming tonight, even though, most of y'all don't. So it's kind of like a spoiler alert for me. But at any rate, it's Friday night, March 12th, 2021. It seems weird to say that. It is 7:07 p.m. And here we are, the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. And we've got our usual panel of experts here in astronomy. We have Mr. Eddie Trevino here. Club treasurer, there he is.
How's everybody doing?
Good to see you, Eddie. As always.
Good to see you, Will.
And we have Mr. Howard Miner, and
Hey.
there
Hi,
he is,
everybody.
the legend himself, Mr. Howard Miner. Howard,
you don't want to be a legend.
Howard is our newsletter editor, and he does just a fantastic job of that. And we'll be showing a little bit of that here, and he's got a little presentation coming up for us. And Eddie's got a couple of things to share with us as well. And while we're getting ready, we'll say hello to some of y'all in the chat room. Mr. Hunter Ackerman is here joining us. Good to see you, Hunter. Hello, Al from Denver, Colorado. We got one of our locals, Lori Sell, in the house. Good to see you, Lori.
Hey, Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Good to see you. Rosie from Cancun, Mexico. That's awesome. Hunter says, duck season, galaxy season, duck season, galaxy season. Whichever one it is. If you're a hunter, maybe it is duck season. If you're a galaxy hunter like we are, y'all know what's coming. Y'all know what's coming. Carl's Cosmos in here. Hey, Will, Eddie, and Howard. Cosmos Carl here. Good to see you, Cosmos Carl, our friend from all the way in Houston, so far away. Peter from England. Good to see you. Jeremy, greetings from Memphis at Memphis Astronomy Society. Good to have the Memphis Astronomical Society joining in. It's like they're all piped in as a guest, like when else in the world could you have another whole Memphis Astronomy Club join a Beaumont, Texas Astronomy Club? It's the power of the internet, folks. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Dustin, how you doing? Mark, good to see you all the way from Europe, Ottawa, Canada. Roger. Hey, there's Terry, good old local checking in from Beaumont.
How's it going, Terry?
Hey, Terry.
Good to see you. Gregory Wells, and he's from Dallas. So good to see y'all. Thank y'all for joining us. Again, we are the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. We are a nonprofit astronomy club here in Beaumont, Texas. If you don't know where that is, it's down into the right of Texas, if that makes any sense. Just don't go into the Gulf of Mexico and you'll be fine. We are a group of amateur astronomers that meet once a month here in the Beaumont area. We're still meeting virtually, as most of y'all know. Maybe you haven't been paying attention. There's been a little virus going around, a little pandemic. So we are doing it online as we should be. And but hopefully, I don't want to speak too soon, but maybe in the next few months, we'll be back to a normal routine, which means y'all on the internet probably won't see much of us anymore, at least maybe for a while. Who knows? Maybe we'll continue to broadcast these online, but we thank y'all for joining us. We've got Jessica in from New York and Kat Trevino. I don't know where she's coming from, though. We're not sure.
She's right over there.
From all the way across the kitchen, we have Miss Kat Trevino. Good to see you, Kat. It's been too long since we've all been hanging out together. Salt Lake in the house. Good to see y'all.
Right.
Thanks for joining. We got a good one for y'all tonight. Normally we meet in a planetarium where our friend Sharon Rigsby kind of runs the building for us and lets us invade her time, and we meet and we nerd out on astronomy, and then we go home. And so we're going to do that now from the comfort of our homes. We're going to nerd out on some astronomy, and we're going to have a good time. We got some fun stuff to talk about tonight, so we're going to get to it because we don't want to take too much time and not talk about fun things, right? So let's get a little bit of club business out of the way, and then we'll go right into the fun stuff. But actually, first off, those of y'all that are in the chat, I'd love to hear y'all's observing reports. If y'all have been out observing, the clouds, that's great. If you've been out observing the moon, in binoculars, whatever, throw it down in the chat, and I'll throw y'all stuff up as we go along tonight. And, you guys can kind of tell the world what y'all have been up to. Eddie, what have you been observing lately? Anything interesting or?
Clouds and windy skies and cold weather. And no, I haven't been observing anything. I'm so sad to say. I took my binoculars out to try to look at the moon, and it just was not a good view at all.
Was it because you couldn't hold them steady, Eddie, or was it because they were fogged up? Or I didn't mean to rhyme there just then, but
it was cold. I was shaking and slipping on ice.
Yeah. So for those of y'all that don't know, down here in Texas, we just went through a period of something I've never experienced in Texas before, where there was snow and ice on the ground for like 4 days, 4.5, 5 days, or something like that. I've never experienced that. I'm 37. That was pretty wild. But I'm sure it's happened in the past. But yeah, all the tropical plants are dead. You can see them all like brown and gray everywhere around us. But we will recover. That's what we're good at here in Texas. Howard, have you been observing anything fun, or did you get out and see anything?
Not very good. I try to keep up with the solar weather report and see if there's any new sunspots coming on. And of course, at the present time, all I got at my disposal is my little birding scope, 80 millimeter, which I can watch the sunspots with my white filter. But hasn't been anything for the last couple of weeks. Well, there was, but it was pretty weak, and it went off the edge. But there's something new coming on the upper and what do you call that? The north side up there. And so there is a weak sunspot coming on across. But otherwise, other than standing out and watching the moon rise, not much luck.
Yeah, that'll go around, though, as y'all know, the cloud nebula can definitely come in and ruin things. Brenda Simmons says, I haven't been seeing anything. Wilmington, Delaware is cold. That's pretty far north. I would say it's pretty cold up there. A little colder than Texas, maybe, just a smidge. I didn't get a picture of a nice snow person that a young couple made. I don't have any more space, so I think I'll shut down for a while. Yeah. Well, hey, it's all good. I mean, we're glad that you guys are at least making the effort to get out and get some observing in. Blake Norman says, I just figured out how to get my 6-inch Dob Go-To tracked after, I think, was that 10 months? Seeing it slew to the Orion Nebula last weekend and track on it was very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Your first time getting that thing all lined up and everything, it definitely will. It's a life-changing experience there for sure. I'll get to some other ones. Current member Charlie Shelton in the house says, Will, when I look at heavens above interactive sky chart, north and south are fine, but east and west are reversed. I don't understand this. Can you explain this? Is there a class we can do? Eddie, I see you raising your hand. Let's go over to you.
Yeah, Charlie, that sky chart is meant to be held over your head. So when you hold it over your head, east and west are correct. If that makes any sense.
And we're consulting the judges. Oh, that is a correct answer. Thank you, Eddie. You win the brand new used car. Where was that? Where did I leave off here? Carl Dunn says, observing right now, looking at M42, the Orion Nebula, using a Celestron AVX 6-inch refractor.
Nice,
awesome, Carl. Nice. We got an observer going right now, y'all. There's active observation going on here. Hey, Robbie's good to see you. Glad you could join us. Dustin says supposed to be snow and wind in New Mexico this weekend. Wow, interesting. That's always fun. I mean, we thought winter was over, right? And here it comes again. Heidi says amazing show, educational for so many people. Wish to know about the stars in our universe and planets I know. It's great that that kids who are somewhat social distancing each other, not in school, it gives them an opportunity to learn something more than just the classroom. Absolutely. That's the good thing about the internet, Heidi, is it brings us all together. We all cram into this online room, and we can chat, we can hang out, and that's what I love to throw you guys' comments up there. Justin from Louisiana. We've got Rhonda. Am I reading that right? I'm sorry. North Carolina. Good to see you, Rhonda. There we go. Charlie says maybe we can talk. Yeah, anytime.
Absolutely, Charlie.
Eddie and Howard and I are always willing to help where we can. Jeremy says March 6th was clear. Viewed 13 objects with night vision and 10-inch Dobsonian. Awesome job. Leo Triplet and NGC 4565, the Needle Galaxy, one of my favorites, were the highlights. Cloudy this weekend. That's just about the way it goes, isn't it? And Hunter says, I'll get to a few more of these. Hunter says it's cloudy and actively snowing here in Big Bear, which is just north of LA area, or out that way anyway. So I get to hear about stargazing. I only get to hear about stargazing just now. Yeah, it's hard to stargaze in the snow. I have tried. It's not an easy thing. Socked in till Tuesday in St. Louis. Wow, that just somebody in St. Louis just bought a scope apparently, because that's the way it goes. Adam Corville in the house. Hey, you guys, how you doing? Good to see you. Kim from Lancaster, PA. And Lori Sell says, when can we get back up to Martin Dye's star party? Well, we're in talks with Martin Dye's, of course, after the restrictions lift and things like that. Whenever we get back to normal, even though none of us on this panel are normal, whenever we get back to normal, we'll be good to go, and we'll start doing Martin Dye's. Of course, Lori, you can go to Martin Dye's whenever you feel like. If you want to just go up there and naked eye stargaze or a binocular stargaze or whatever. So the park is still open, but yeah, and we've got Bill and Mary Dixon, a couple of our members that are always here with us. Good to see y'all. Well,
how's it going, the Dixons?
Hi, Bill and Mary.
Good to have the Dixons in the house as always. And then I'll get one more in, and then we'll go to the other stuff. Liz says rainy and cloudy here in Downey, California. That's about the way it goes, isn't it? I mean, we've all kind of gotten a little bit of weird weather this year already, and it's only March. So let's hope that things continue to improve. But good. I'm glad we got some observing reports in. I've been doing a little bit of observing, mostly rockets lately, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But this is something that happened to me when I was out observing rockets. And this is an iPhone picture, guys. We're not winning any Pulitzers with this, okay? But I was on the beach, and I was looking over those. You can see these high pressure sodium lights right there down and to the right. That's Isla Blanca Park down in South Padre Island. And you can see right above it and to the left, we have the constellation Centaurus, which a lot of astronomers know. And then down and to the right, that little star is actually Omega Centauri, which is not a star at all. It's a globular cluster, but it's amazing that the iPhone picked out that little bitty spot there. But if you look down, that's not even the coolest part of this, for me anyway. The coolest part of this is right above Isla Blanca Park. You see Ga Crux, B Crux, and Delta. What is it? Crucis? Yeah, Delta. Why didn't they call it Da Crux? I mean, Ga Crux, B Crux, Da Crux, or
is that Delta?
Yeah, it's Delta, right? So it's Gamma Crux, Beta Crux, and shouldn't it be D Crux? I don't know. Whatever. Maybe that means something in some language, and I'm saying profanity. I don't know. Those are the 3 stars that make up the very top of the Southern Cross.
Wow. Which
is very cool. I've only ever seen Ga Crux, and that was from the El Dorado Star Party. It was during the summer when I went up there. I could see Ga Crux, and I was like, "Oh, it's the top star of the Southern Cross." As a little kid, of course, I've always heard of the Southern Cross, and I was walking down the beach, and I'm like, "Hold the phone here. If that's Centaurus, then what is that right there?" And I got my Sky Safari Pro app out, and I started looking, and wow, there it was. The top 3 stars of the Southern Cross, which is a very famous asterism. I don't believe it's a constellation, although maybe it is, because it was in a time when kind of the term was a little bit more nebulous, not to use that word, but it definitely is a constellation or an asterism that people used for navigation if you're somewhere south of the equator, because places in south of the equator you may not be able to see the North Star, so you may not know exactly which way is north or south. But Southern Cross is definitely used in navigational purposes, and I saw it even through the high pressure sodium lights there, which you can definitely see is definitely affecting the view. Had I stayed up till 3 a.m. or so, I might have even been able to see the bottom star, which would have been very cool. But I was tired, and it was 1:30, as you can see right there. And
wow, well, I'm surprised you could see that from Texas. I mean, I know Texas goes pretty far south. Do you have any idea what your longitude was?
I think it's 27.
So it's only like 3 degrees different from us.
I know, yeah. And like I said, from the X-Bar Ranch where we do the El Dorado Star Party, you can definitely see Gaw Crux about this time, in the springtime. Yeah. But that's really all that comes up. It literally comes up and then goes down. You're like, and that's kind of what this did. It comes up and then it goes down. But I think it does go enough for you to see the bottom star. And Howard was telling me earlier, of course you can see it from Hawaii, which is a little bit further south than us, I think. But yeah, it's actually pretty interesting, and I've always wanted to see it. I always knew you could see it if you went to the beach, like I always remember that from being a youngster. But
at about 3 o'clock in the morning, you may be able to see the top star and the cross from the 30th. What are we, latitude?
Yeah, we're like 29. Yeah, 30. Yeah. 30.
And so you should be able to see the top star. And if you'd go down to the Gulf, not down there where they're shooting rockets, but just down to the Gulf toward Victoria, I think you could see the top 3 stars if you're good and lucky.
If you have a good horizon, you'd be surprised what you can do. And I'll show y'all that at the end of our presentation tonight. I got 2 pretty awesome videos that I can't wait to show you guys. If you have a good horizon, there's some amazing things you can do, and I'll leave it until we get to there. Eddie, have you ever seen the Southern Cross? Is this
I never have, and I gotta say I've never seen that top star from any of the star parties either. But I don't know that I ever knew to look, and it's never been pointed out to me.
Yeah.
Now
I never needed to look. I never needed to look.
Y'all really? Okay. Wow. I was just really bored and wondering what it was, and then wow, there it was, like southern constellations speaking to me in the darkness of South Padre. And Charlie says South Padre is 27.46 degrees.
Uh-huh.
So just a little bit further south of us here in Texas. And then for those of y'all that might be from New York, this might be, hilarious that we're even talking about this, because this wouldn't even, most of Centaurus isn't even visible from New York and those kind of latitudes up there. So it's amazing when you live on different parts of a ball, how you can see different parts of the sky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jeremy says, I saw it in Argentina. Very cool. Boca Chica, Texas is 25.9 latitude. Wow. I didn't realize it was that much further south. Wow. Than South Padre. That's crazy. Wow. Okay. Well,
cool.
So there it is. There's what I've been observing. But for those of y'all that are members of the club, or you want to become members of the club, dues for 21 are due, and it's 30 a family. And there's the club perks that you get over there. And it's just an invaluable community to be a part of. I really have learned so much from people like Howard, from people like Eddie. Just going out and observing with these guys will teach you more than you could ever find on YouTube or Google. I promise you that. So if you don't join our club, join a club and get in the mix. Get out there and learn how to use the telescopes that they use. Let them teach you. They probably will. And it's a great thing to do. Again, for those of you past members, we would love to see a lot of y'all join. I know there's a lot of regulars that haven't joined. Maybe they've forgotten. I know 2020 was a crazy year. Most of us had our dues in 2020 before the pandemic really locked us down. And so now here we are in the first actual year of the lockdown still, where we're, paying dues and lockdown. So hopefully a lot of you regular members will be able to get your dues in. And because I forgot to, I'm not going to lie. I think it was like late January, early February when the president of the club remembered to pay his dues. So, but don't tell anyone. Don't tell Eddie. Don't tell him.
Well, on that note, I will say that we're coming up to the end of the first quarter of this year. And so far we've got 24 members, which is a little bit low for us. I think last year we had 47 total members, which is a nice average number for us. We like to have about 45 or 50. But like I said, we're a little bit low this year. We're at 24. And at the end of this month, I have to send in an updated roster to the Astronomical League. And if you're not on that roster, you could potentially lose one of your reflector magazines because it takes a whole quarter for them to process a name through. So the end of March, I'll send that updated list to the A-League. And I think Kat just sent out an email, a reminder to everyone in the club. If you've already paid your dues, please disregard the email. We just sent it to everyone. So as not to single anyone out.
Awesome. And great job as a treasurer, as always, Eddie. Do you want to go ahead and put in with all of that the Amazon Smile data?
Yeah, we just got our fourth quarter of last year's Amazon Smile donation. Should I say how much it was, Will?
If you want, yeah, why not? I mean, it's money.
It was $76.81. And thank you to everyone in the club who decided to use Amazon Smile when they ordered from Amazon. As Will said, it doesn't cost us anything extra to use Amazon Smile, but Jeff Bezos will pay us 0.5% for every dollar we spend. So since we started this program in 2016, actually in the third quarter of 2016, we've gotten close to $1,400. It's just money that Mr. Bezos sends to us, because I'm sure it's a big tax write-off for him.
Jane and I, we just bought a incumbent bike today off Amazon Smile. So you got that little dribble of money coming in to you too.
We're gonna get a fat check now. Thanks, Howard.
Yeah, thank you, Howard. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that bike was $3,500. I'm joking.
I was about to say I wouldn't put that on the internet, Howard. Now people know where they can get a $3,500 bike. And then Lori Sell says, "I'll take care of mine tonight." Okay, good. Good to have you, Lori. Of course.
Very good, Lori. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always good to have all the old members and the new members alike. So we appreciate that. Hey, Joseph, good to see you. But Amazon Smile, yeah, if you go to smile.amazon.com, like Eddie was saying, and you put in the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas, you can see in the bottom left there, it shows you what it will look like. It'll say supporting the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. And you buy anything, that money doesn't come out of your pocket. It comes out of Jeff Bezos's pocket, and it goes straight into ours. And we're going to do something with that money one day. Eddie and I have been talking about it. So one of these days we're going to.
I think you ought to include the rest of us.
Well, we were talking about adding you in, Howard, but we weren't sure. Buying $3,500 bikes and stuff, we were a little worried about.
Yeah. Here's what I see. I see us buying some very, functional club scopes so that our members will have access to them, and things that are easy for them to use and that are, state of the art, as it were. Not old clunky stuff that's dusty and rickety. Mm-hmm. That's what I'd like to see.
Yes, and same here. Absolutely.
Sounds good.
So with that, and we already had the, did we get the full treasure report, Eddie? Was there anything else you had on that?
Let's see. I told you about the members we have. I told you about the A-League roster that was getting ready to be sent out. I submitted our 2020 tax exempt form to the IRS. So we're good for another year, I guess. And talked about the Amazon Smile donation. So that's it for the treasurer report.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Eddie, for always doing a great job as a treasurer. And Howard, of course, always thank you for being the newsletter editor. I always look forward to seeing what's in your brain about astronomy. And so the newsletter is definitely something to look forward to. And guys, if you join the club, you get a monthly newsletter from that guy right down there. So you definitely want that. And speaking of, Mr. Brian Miner is in the house. He says, "Hi, Dad."
Hey, Brian.
I was about to say, Eddie, I didn't know you had a son named Brian.
Oh, he's a minor son.
He's a minor son. Yeah, minor star, right? Oh, good to have Brian Miner in the house. It's from Arizona, right? Right, Howard? Scottsdale, Arizona. What a beautiful state that is. Awesome. So it's great to have you. And then Liz says, "I love the way Will says Boca Chica." That's it. Did I say it the way you wanted me to say it? Boca Chica. We're gonna Boca Chica in a second. So we'll get back to that.
And Brian, I don't know if you know this or not, but your dad, Howard, he's kind of a big deal in the club.
Yeah. kind of is, you know, it is what it is. Now, onto a little club or non-club business here, and then we'll get on to some fun stuff. The Texas Star Party 2021 has officially been canceled. Trivia question: how is canceled really spelled? Put your comments down in the comments bar. Is it one L or two? Because both are correct, apparently. I didn't know this. That's really dumb that there's two ways to spell a word. But yeah, so Texas Star Party is canceled for 2021. This is a star party that Howard Miner himself has been to many times. Mr. Eddie Trevino and his wife Kat have been to many times. I've been to every Texas Star Party since 2014. So it's a shame that we don't get to go back, but of course we all understand why. We're right on the edge of things going back to normal, but Texas Star Party was just right at the cusp of making it happen. So there won't be any Texas Star Party this year. And Jeremy says, "LOL, spell it with one L." So see there, I failed even there. See, I spelled it with two tonight, because I think last week or last month I spelled it with one, and I was like, "Is that right? It looks wrong." But then Jeremy's here to make sure we get it with one L next time for sure. But he asked, "What about Okie-Tex?"
Okie-Tex doesn't have any L's in it.
No L's in Okie-Tex. That's exactly right.
No L's in Okie-Tex.
Thank you, Eddie. That yes, I left that one on the floor, but you picked it. You swept that one up. Thank you so much. We don't know about Okie-Tex yet. Is the honest answer? It looks like they're going to continue forward with the Star Party. In my soft human brain, I would imagine that they're going to go ahead and go forward with the Star Party, even if they have to do maybe some COVID restrictions, mask wearing, that sort of thing. But it seems like Okie-Tex may go forward. So we will see on that. Here's hoping, though. Yeah, Dustin says it's canceled with two L's. There we go. Aaron says, "Sorry to hear that we can't spell canceled." We appreciate that, Aaron. Brian says he's a huge deal. Brian knows exactly how big of a deal Howard is. Without Howard, his life would not be possible. Steve Thomas says, "Mississippi here. Hi, good. Hello, Mississippi. Good to see you." And Brian says, "We'll see you soon in Texas." All right. Yeah, so I guess
he's coming this way.
All right. Now you don't even have to go to Arizona, Howard. You can just stay put and have the family come visit you, I guess. Right. That's
right.
Awesome. It works. So the next Star Party that we have coming up after Texas Star Party, if you're into star parties, is the Rocky Mountain Star Stare. This one is usually in June or July. I guess it really just depends how the new moon falls and how their scheduling works. So be on the lookout for this one. There's the coordinates right there, 3750 north, 10511 west. It's in the Rocky Mountains, and it's a 4-day event. So it's not a full week thing. You can actually make this thing, you can go up and do part-time if you want to, a couple of days, or do the full event, whatever you want to do. It's a pretty good event from what I've understood in the past. I've never been, but either this year coming up or 2022, which sounds crazy to say, will be my first year. So that Star Party, again, it's not fully apparent that they'll cancel it yet. They're still kind of waiting. So I guess we'll find out more on that as time goes on. Of course, that's how the old calendar works. Let's see what happens on the next calendar week. And speaking of the March 2021 calendar from the wonderful newsletter Howard puts together for us, Pretty awesome stuff. You can see all kinds of good factoids in there. You can see here.
Here's something very important. They let's see, daylight saving time was last weekend.
No,
I got it right there. It has to be true.
Jane's like, no, it wasn't. No. Messed that one up, Howard. Oh, wait, was I supposed to set my clock back or forward last weekend? I don't even, am I late?
Yeah.
Spring
You set your
forward,
clock
fall back.
sideways.
I'm late. I knew it. Luckily for digital clocks these days with our, our computers and stuff, because I wouldn't really know what time it was if it wasn't for my cell phone and stuff telling me where to be and when to be. So, but if you need a calendar to tell you when and where to be, Mr. Howard Miner has you covered. You can see tomorrow is new moon, guys. It's Saturday the 13th. Ooh, I don't know why Friday the 13th is different, but Saturday the 13th sounds scarier, especially when there's a new moon. So it's not an old moon, it's a new moon. And for those of you that are dark sky lovers, the people that like the dark skies, this is your weekend to go. A couple of things I wanted to bring up in the chat. My friend Reza says, we're still waiting to hear about Cherry Springs Star Party. Of course, most of y'all know that that's up in the northwestern Pennsylvania area. They'll announce it in late March, early April. So that's coming up. So we'll know about Cherry Springs Star Party, which is, again, if you're in the Pennsylvania area, it's one of the best star parties in that area as far as dark skies go, and just a gathering with a lot of nice people, a lot of good infrastructure, so you can bring your tent camps or your RVs or whatever you're going to do and stay out there. So good. Thank you, Reza, for that piece of information. So if you're looking for Cherry Springs Star Party, watch for late this month, early next month. Little piece of news that came through that I thought was really cool, y'all. There's a microphone on Perseverance, which most of y'all know what Perseverance is. It's the little rover. I'll say a little rover about this big. It's the size of a Volvo that they dropped on Mars with a rocket. NASA did this. And I'm not going to play it here, but I challenge all of y'all to go and check this out. They released the first acoustic recording of the laser shots. Now, they've recorded a couple of things like wind blowing against the microphone, and there was the in-flight. They turned the instruments on while the thing was on its way to Mars. They turned the instruments on during that period, and the microphone was one of the instruments they turned on, so they recorded what it sounds like to fly through space. And I guarantee you the answer will surprise you. But if you want to check this out, just go down or go Google Mars Perseverance audio, and the first link will take you directly to the page you're looking at. And you can see the waveform looks like a bunch of spikes, and it literally sounds like somebody snapping. And it's actually very on beat. So what I would like to do as a musician, as you can tell, I play a few musical instruments. I am going to take that snapping and make that the beat to a song. And I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but something's in the works. The only thing slowing me down is trying to figure out what notes to put together. So, but I want y'all all to check it out. I didn't want to take too much time in the meeting here to lay out all that. Most of y'all know how to keep track of Perseverance. This is going to be amazing, guys. We're going to see some incredible science come out of this rover from Mars over the next several years. Curiosity is still going. Curiosity was the one that predates Perseverance. Perseverance just got there. They're just stretching the legs or the wheels, however you want to see it. And they're exploring Mars, y'all. We got a robot on Mars right now recording audio.
Got a tank full of gas too. He's ready to go. That's
right. Yeah, just topped off a new wash on the thing. It's really actually pretty amazing what they're doing up there. And I don't know, did you guys get to watch the landing and all that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I wouldn't imagine y'all would do anything else. I was actually on a live stream with our friend Joe Califf, the president of the Houston Astronomical Society. We did a live stream on that. That was real good. And then I went to another one directly after that just to kind of, keep talking about space. And it was a good day. It was a busy day, but it was fun. And then Brian says something fun. Welcome to Arizona, where we don't change our clocks.
Yeah, that's right.
It's because Arizona's smart. Arizona. Yeah, exactly. He's lucky because Arizona is smart. Yeah, I don't know why we still do it here in Texas. It doesn't make much sense. And then George says exactly. Wish they would get rid of daylight savings. Yes, I would love for that to happen, but I mean, I think it's out of our hands, guys. We'll have to wait until people better than us change it, right? So
It's called politics.
yeah, that exactly. I was trying to dance around it, but Howard was like, "No, it's called politics. It's stupid."
But that's all we're going to say.
Yeah, we're not in support or denying politics. It's just a thing. So call your local congressman and tell them to change the daylight savings time. That's what I say. That's just Will speaking to you. The next thing on our agenda, the solar report with Mr. Eddie Trevino. Now, Eddie is our local solar expert. He has spent many years observing the sun. Of course, no, none of us are experts, but Eddie does know a thing or two about this ball of plasma fire at the center of our solar system. And Eddie.
Yeah, Will, I wouldn't call me an expert, not by any means. I read a lot about it, and I find it very interesting, and I hope you do as well. I got a report for the last 4 weeks. It wasn't a very active sun. I mean, we had solar sunspots in active regions the majority of the time, but they weren't very good ones. So let me share my screen here.
All righty. Maybe if I stop sharing mine, maybe it'll pop through there.
Yeah, it's just taking me a while.
There.
Can you see that?
We can. We have it.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying we're at the start of solar cycle 25, and the solar cycle is an 11-year pattern. It goes up to where we have maximum sunspots in activity, and it comes down where we have minimum. And it goes up and down. It takes 11 years, and right now we're right here. I moved this red line because between this line and this line, or this line and this line, is a year. And I moved it, and I moved it a little bit too far ahead, but you know what? It's future-proof now. So we're right here in the solar cycle, and it's going to peak in 2025, July 2025. So this is the last 4 weeks. These are the days, and the yellow colored days are the days we had sunspots. So what we do is we call them active regions. And if there's a sunspot in the active region, then we say there was a sunspot. So as you can see, there was a lot of active region throughout the month. In fact, some of them went away. 2806 on the 5th was gone on the 6th, came back on the 7th. 2807 was there on the 7th, disappeared on the 8th, came back on the 10th. So that was kind of interesting. So at the end of the month, as of today, we have 32 spotless days year to date, and that's 45% of this year. So it's off to a slow start, but it's something's going on. We had a whole lot of spotless days last year, so we're happy to see something. And of course, as we mentioned earlier, Sunday is daylight savings time, so make sure you set your clocks forward. So let's start on the 12th of February. As you can see, it's a spotless sun, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and we have that teeny tiny little speck up there. And it gets named 2802. And then it goes away, but we have 2803 that rolls on to the limb, and it goes across, and it's joined by 2805. I think I missed a number, but 2804 was the largest sunspot we had in the last month. It got pretty big, and it changed quite a bit as it moved across the surface. So they called it a frothy sunspot. Now, I'll show you a video of it. But it hung on until we had another spotless day. And then we got 2 of them in the southern hemisphere, very small. They moved across, I think 2806 disappears and comes back, and then 2807 disappears. And there it is again, and it's joined by 2808 and 2809, and that was it. for the month. So I'm going to show you a video in a wavelength that'll show you the active regions. So pay attention up here and you'll see that real big sunspot coming up. It comes right here. It comes up out of nowhere, but that was the biggest one of the year, or of the month, excuse me. And then as you can see, it's not much left. So that was that wavelength. I'll show you the magnetogram just so you can see how frothy it was, I guess. What's interesting is that big one's going to come up out of nowhere right about here. There it is.
Yeah.
Look at the way it changes.
About on the center meridian.
Yeah. We thought we had a sunspot that was very close to the poles, which is very unusual. Most of the sunspots are close to the equator. We had one that was starting right up here, but it never formed fully, and it was gone before it was able to do anything. Okay, this always goes forward. Okay, we had a solar flare on the 27th of February. I'll show you a video of it. It didn't have much of a coronal mass ejection. It was mainly X-rays, but it was a pretty bright flare. It was a C2 class, which is not very powerful, but it was the most exciting thing that happened as far as solar flares. So there's going to be a couple of things that you can see on this wavelength. You're going to see a coronal mass ejection. I'll point that out to you first, and then we'll look at that solar flare. So look right here. Right there. It just lifts off. And they were very excited about it because it was aiming towards Earth when it first started. I'll show you that again. Get that mouse cursor out of the way. I made it a big finger so that I could point things out. So it's going to be about right here. See that? It just lifted off, and it's still suspended, and you see it right there as it rolls around the edge. Okay, I'm going to show this to you one more time so we can look at that solar flare. And the solar flare happens off that big sunspot, 2804. I think this is it right here. So that was the solar flare, very exciting. Again, not much happened on the sun. It had a sunspot pretty much every day of the month, but not big activity. We had a lot of solar wind because there was holes in the corona, coronal holes. We had, big ones that happened. I'll show you a video that points these out. These are the different dates and the different areas, but all these dark spots, solar wind just flows out of there and it comes towards the Earth. It's not traveling very fast because it's not an explosive solar wind, but it does find the cracks in the Earth's magnetic field and it creates aurora. And right around spring and fall, it is a time for a lot of aurora. And I thought it was mostly in the winter when we had longer nights, but it turns out around the equinoxes is when you have the majority of the aurora. So look at all this activity. I mean, look at these magnetic lines. I just think that's incredible. There's that big solar flare. So that's the sun in that wavelength. And I'll show you the CMEs that came off. It was a big one off the side. This is off the SOHO satellite.
Meteors.
Yeah, this is Mercury.
Mercury.
But that's all the solar material that's just being blasted off the sun. And most of it doesn't come towards Earth, thankfully, because it would cause a lot of problems. But that does come towards the Earth, like I said, it does cause aurora. And I read about something this month that I was very excited about, and I wanted to share it. And this is called a Steve.
Yeah,
Have you heard of it?
I have.
It was the first I heard of it.
I heard of it because I'm like, why did they call it Steve? But it means something, right?
Well, yes, and I'll show you what it means. But that purple line right there, this picture was taken, I believe in Alberta, Canada, somewhere in Canada. And these photographers that go out to capture the aurora started noticing this phenomenon, and they didn't know what it was. And so, you know, just like in the movie Over the Hedge, they didn't know what it was, so they decided to call it Steve. And these guys are just, you know, they're citizen scientists. They're out there having fun with their hobby, and they're doing things just like you and I do. And they captured some pictures, and they didn't know what it was. At first, they thought it was a proton aurora. And they started sharing pictures and information on their Facebook page, the Alberta Aurora Chasers. There's another page called Aurorasaurus that they started comparing notes, and they quickly realized that we don't think this is aurora related. Aurora are caused by ions from the sun raining down on the earth, but this seemed to be something different. They first thought it was a proton aurora, and so they started calling it a proton arc. But the physicists realized that if it was a proton aurora, it wouldn't be visible. So the European Space Agency has a set of satellites. There's 3 identical satellites. They're called the swarm satellites. And one of them flew right through a Steve. And what they found out was that it wasn't anything coming down onto the Earth. It was actually in the Earth's atmosphere. It was a ribbon of hot plasma, and it was pretty high up in the sky, and it had a temperature of 3,000 degrees C.
Wow.
And it was going at a speed of 3.7 miles every second. They've since thought that maybe it has to do with a subauroral ion drift, which they predicted, but they didn't know you could see it. There's still some debate about that. So here's a video.
It seems like there was a picture in the paper or on newsreel or where in St. Louis, where over the St. Louis Arch they had one of those, and about 2 weeks ago or something like that, wasn't it, darling?
I think so. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's one thing about these things, that you see them further south than you do the aurora. So they're closer to the equator, which is why people in Canada were seeing them directly overhead. Hey, on this video, can you hear the audio?
No.
Well, it's paused now because Howard was saying something.
Oh.
Let me know if you can hear it. If you can't hear the audio, I'll bypass it. But oh, well, that wasn't good.
Sorry.
It's okay, Howard. We'll start this again.
We may not be able to hear it, Eddie, because I don't know if there might be an option to bring the sound in with it. I'm not sure. Maybe.
You can't hear it?
Well, it's gone now, so it's. You have to re-screen share it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I've actually heard of these Steves before, but I didn't know they backronymed it, it's hilarious.
Yeah, they called it Steve because they didn't know what else to call it. But then
they had to figure out what that meant, right?
yeah.
People
we go.
were
Yes.
out observing the aurora, and they started noticing something that was overhead as well when they were seeing the aurora far to the northern regions. It was unlike most aurora. Talked to the scientists, we didn't know what it was, and together they said, we'll keep taking observations and we'll call it Steve in the meantime. Steve is mostly a very narrow purple arc, and sometimes it has these little green features that go along with it as well that are kind of like waving fingers or a picket fence. That means that there's plasma physics happening up there to cause that light and to make these little discrete features that we don't understand yet. We now have some satellite observations from the ESA satellite called SWARM that show that Steve optically is associated with a very strong flow in the particles in the ionosphere.
Seems like we lost it, Will.
Yeah, we did.
I apologize for that. It's a good video. If you want to watch it, you can look it up. It's from the Goddard Space Center. And it pretty much talks about everything that I talked about. But at the end, they do a pretty good shout out to the citizen scientists, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. Especially around Aurora, there's a lot of citizen science going on. I mean, it's an easy phenomenon to photograph. If you have a simple DSLR, you can do that.
Yeah. Anyway, that's on a bucket list for me. I am going to make a point to start looking for Steves next time I'm up north. And like I said, it's around the equinoxes in the spring and the fall that you're going to see these. Never heard of them before. So that's my solar report.
Fascinating, Eddie. That is fascinating and stuff. And what I didn't know about Steve's was those little finger green associations that go along with it. And what it immediately reminded me of is sprites, red sprites, which if you know anything about red sprites, it's a lightning phenomenon that triggers low altitude aurora. Is the best description I've heard of it. So you get a positive lightning bolt in a storm here on Earth. A positive lightning bolt, hits the ground, and right above the storm, hundreds of miles up, you get sprites, which are a phenomenon basically that was kind of documented in the 80s first. I think late 80s, and I've actually caught some on camera, and that reminds me a lot of the sprites, those little green fingers or whatever. That's pretty cool stuff, man.
Yeah,
It was very good, Eddie.
Yeah.
If you're interested, look it up. There's a lot of information, and it, from about 2016 is when they first started putting all the dots together that said, hey, we have something here that we're not sure what it is, but it's not aurora like we initially thought.
Wow.
So,
fascinating, man.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. And that's an awesome picture of aurora right there. I mean, I've never seen aurora visually. I've only ever seen it in pictures, I think. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I can't ever tell you like, oh yeah, I looked up and saw even like the red aurora that we would get down here sometimes after, really big, coronal whatevers. But yeah, that's one thing. Like you said, Eddie, it's a bucket list item for sure to get that.
Yeah. And you would think that it's just a photographic item, but it's not. You can see it naked eye, and now I just really want to make a trip to go see it.
Yeah, just to see the greenish glow like you're showing there. Super cool astronomical event. I could see where it would get a little annoying if you were a deep sky observer and you were stuck in a northern latitude. On nights you would get nothing but this green glow. But for us Southerners, there's pretty much nothing cooler to see than some strong aurora. But look at that. That's really cool.
Very cool. You didn't see any when you went to Iceland, Eddie?
I saw aurora. Yeah, Kat and I both did. It was live. I mean, it wasn't like a static picture. It was moving around in the sky. And it was dark green. And the sky was black. And we went to bed, and we had the window open. It was really cold. And in the middle of the night, we heard ducks outside our window. They were just quacking away. And I got up and I looked up into the sky, and it was like a river of pale green light going across the sky.
Wow.
It was just moving real fast.
Yeah.
It looked like a river. It looked like a river of clouds, but it was pale green. And I started to wake everyone up, but I thought, you know what? It's not as great as what we saw earlier tonight, so I'm going back to bed. Yeah,
I
so
wish
I've
you'd
seen.
woke me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have gotten some pictures. It just was beyond my camera's capability.
Yeah. Well, and that, sometimes it's better just to view the event, instead of, trying to take a picture of it or whatever. Although I say that, and then every event that comes along, I'm trying to take a picture or a video of it. So I'm not really the kind of guy to be handing out that kind of advice. But
yeah, we're kind of counting on you to capture it, Will.
Thank you, Eddie. I appreciate that.
You do capture a lot of things that have never been seen before. You captured that impact on the moon.
Yeah.
You captured a rocket explosion. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I'd never seen a rocket explode on impact. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, hey, you gotta be filming it to capture it, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Unless you just want to capture it in the old noggin. Well, thank you, Eddie, for that awesome report, man. That's great stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, I wish the sunspots were more plentiful for us, but they'll get there.
They're coming. Yeah, I was about to say we're on that upward tick, so we'll be up that slope very soon, and we'll be all out with our solar scopes and trying to enjoy some fun stuff. And then, like George says, he says to share your Sprite with Steve. So there's your dad joke of the evening. Thank you, George. Good. Okay, so with that, we're gonna roll right into Mr. Howard Miner's thing. Now, Howard is going to talk a little bit about galaxies and Leo, because everybody knows Leo, right? I mean, if you're a Leo, you know Leo. But if you're not into astrology like the rest of us, then tell us what Leo means, Howard. What's up with Leo?
Well, I'll tell you what. When I was a kid, with the weather, people had a saying, and it said, when March comes in, if March comes in like a lion, it goes out like a lamb. Or vice versa, if March comes in like a lamb, weather-wise, it goes out like a lion. So you can expect bad weather. And so anyway, as March neared this year, we unfortunately had a little cold spell. And over here where we live, it got down to 9 one morning. In fact, 2 mornings. And so I feel like even though that was in the end of February, that was the beginning of March. So I'm saying that March came in like a lion. And so with that means at the end of March, it's going to go out like a lamb. We're going to have great weather. So get your telescopes together, okay? And so anyway, thinking that all over, I finally decided definitely March came in like a lion. In fact, Leo, the lion. And so leading into my report of Leo, it's because of March. So anyway, well, what I wanted to kind of hit on with y'all a little bit was the galaxies that are in the constellation of Leo. And Leo, when you go like into Sky Safari or even look on the sky charts, sky atlases and stuff like that, you notice that there's lots of little galaxies in the constellation. And there's a reason for that, because Leo lies away from the Milky Way. And the galaxies are not blotted out by the glare. And so anyway, I wanted to, you might put that back up, I guess, well, yeah, that one. That there is talking about galaxies, that there is a classification system. And as you see up there, Edwin Hubble developed that back in the early 1900s. And he decided that there was going to be, he's making 4 classifications of galaxies: an elliptical galaxy, spiral galaxy, a barred spiral galaxy, and irregular galaxies or peculiar galaxies. So anyway, I wanted people to, I know most of you are familiar with this, but you kind of forget about it over time, unless it's something you do in your astronomy work. So anyway, at the top of the list of galaxies is the elliptical galaxy. And it's signified up there on the top of the chart by an EO. And so when you see galaxies listed, you're going to see SBs, SAs, and those are the spiral galaxies. And the E galaxies are the elliptical galaxies. And if you notice there on the chart, there is a galaxy called an SO. And the SO stands for a elliptical galaxy that has a more or less of a stellar center core, or the core is very solid, but then it starts to fade out to the edges. So they call it an SO. And on the EOs, as the elliptical galaxies are very spherical, then they're EOs. But if they start to become oblong and more elliptical, then they assign numbers to them, like E1, E2, E3, E4, 5, and so on. So anyway, I just wanted to familiarize everybody about Hubble's classification system. And whenever you look up on the internet or wherever, the first thing that you see when you look up a galaxy is the classification of it. So you know immediately whether it's a barred spiral or a regular spiral. So anyway, the peculiar galaxies, I wanted to say just a little bit about that. Certain galaxies lack the obvious spiral structure, and they may have a bulge in them, or, and they lack symmetry. And so anyway, they're irregular, or they sometimes call them peculiar. And this is usually just a result of the galaxies being developed. I don't know. Some feel like the elliptical galaxies are finally going to become spirals over eons of time. But also, we all know and hear about that galaxies rush by each other, crash into each other. And so the distortions that are made by the different galaxies passing through each other leaves sometimes some pretty weird shapes. So those are irregular or peculiar galaxies. So what's the next one you got there, Will?
There you go.
Okay, I wanted to kind of start off with, let's see what we got here. Characteristics. Leo stars are one constellation that, even though they're not the brightest stars in the sky, they are brighter than most constellations and kind of uniform across the constellation. And also, Leo has a asterism in it called the sickle. And so as you look up in the sky at this time of the year, Leo is rising in the east, and by 10 o'clock tonight, it's going to be approximately getting up toward the zenith. And so that is part of the characteristic of Leo, is the fact that it has stars that stand out, and it's not one of the constellations that you have to dig into to figure out where it is. And also, Leo has a neat, well-known meteor shower called the Leonids, and they come in the middle of November. Now, a problem with the Leonids is that they don't see a high number of meteors, even though it's a well-known meteor shower, but it only has an average of about 10 meteors per hour. But it does have a spectacular peak shower every 33 years. And so they've had some really great results of peak showers. And so you say, well, when's the next shower, peak shower, when it's going to be really good? And so anyway, 33 years ago, it was in 1999. So now the next peak shower is going to be 2032. So you all get ready, get your lawn chairs out now, and be ready to go for 2032, okay?
I'm ready.
I've had my lawn chair out since last year, Howard.
All
I'm
right.
ready to go.
He's been in line.
That's good. Good, Eddie. And so anyway, another thing that Leo has, and I'm not going to talk about them, other than the fact that they're there, is lots of good doubles. Everything from Regulus to Gamma Leo and others that are notable double stars and have particular characteristics. So other than that, again, Leo does have a multitude of neat galaxies, and as the fact is because they lie away from the Milky Way, where the skies are darker, and they show up well. And also, Leo has 5 Messier objects, galaxies in it. And I don't know any other constellations that have the 5 Messiers in them, but all these Messiers can be seen in binoculars. So, as most all Messier objects can be seen in binoculars. Now, you might have to work a little harder with some of them, but you can see them. And so I just wanted to bring that to a point. So that tells you about Leo's characteristics that make it an interesting constellation, I think. And then in the newsletter this last month, for March's newsletter, I put in about a small galaxy cluster in the Leo sickle. And so you can see here at the bottom of the page that we have Leo sickle on the left-hand side of the page. And we have a little eyepiece field of view on the right-hand side. But I wanted you to take just a quick look at the sickle, and I want you to notice the Greek letters at each of the points. And up at the name, I hope you can read that, is the name of the Greek letter, like zeta, mu, nu, epsilon, gamma, alpha, eta, and so on. So I wanted you to become a little bit familiar with Greek letters. You really need to learn as many as possible of those. You don't have to learn them all, but you know, the ones that are used the most start off with alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, eta, zeta, theta, iota, kappa, gamma, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, pi, and so on. So
He only knows a few, folks.
yeah, you can get after those. But anyway,
And then
that was
I
it,
do have a
that little
picture.
study.
I do have a picture of the sickle there. There you go.
And so then we, in the little galaxy group that's in between gamma and zeta in Leo, is we have, I've represented there 3 spiral galaxies and 1 elliptical galaxy. And so the spirals are 3185, which is about the faintest. Well, it's faint. And 3187 is faint. The galaxy NGC 3190 is the brightest of the little group, and it's the first that you will notice when you come in with the telescope. And then there is 3193, and it's significant because it is the elliptical galaxy of the group. By far, we are most familiar with the spirals, but the ellipticals offer also a challenge, or it just keeps things kind of interesting with the other galaxies. And to identify galaxies, it's really, some of the galaxies are really difficult if you had to sit down and classify them, whether they were in an elliptical or a spiral. In some cases, you cannot really tell. It's just a good guess. And but anyway, in this case, you can tell because the elliptical galaxy is almost a ball, and sometimes just a little bit of an oval. But anyway, I did want to talk about, now that takes care of this little group, spiral groups. And that's another thing. All these galaxies that I want to talk about are in groups, and they're small groups. And there may only be 10 or 12 galaxies in the whole group. But, and then Will's showing up there on his screen where 3190 is. That's the largest spiral right there. And the other galaxies are surrounding it very close. And so they're in the same field of view. When you look in your telescope under a lower power, you're going to see all 4 of those galaxies. In fact, you may even see, if you look very closely with indirect vision, you may even see a couple more come to light for you. So anyway, that's good. And then I did want to talk about one more special galaxy, and it's NGC 2903.
Okay, so let me, while you're talking about that, let me switch the screen here.
Okay.
And then I'll share this thing. Go ahead.
The 2903 is a little bit unusual. And there it is. Will brought it up right out here at the end of the sickle. Look at that. Yay. That is not the way it will look in your telescope. Right?
No.
But it does tell you quite a bit about that picture. Bring that back up a little bit again, Will.
Like this? Okay.
Yeah, like that. Good. And so about 2903 is the fact that it's a 9th magnitude galaxy. It's out by itself. You know, I just said galaxies are usually in groups. Well, this is a loner out here. And it's one that Missy A should have probably run across. And he did not. He missed it. And so it ended up, is it a Caldwell object by chance?
Well, let's find.
You know?
I can click on that. I can click on info. And it is not a Caldwell object.
That's interesting too. And so anyway, it's one you can see in your binoculars. And so one of these nights when you don't want to get out your telescope, you can go after 2903 and see if you can pull that out of the sky with your binocs. And so anyway, it also what you're going to see in your telescope is the center core, the two arms that are out at the edge. You're not going to pick those up unless you have a very large telescope, starting with Will's telescope and getting larger. And so Will can probably bring out those arms a little bit with indirect vision. But you're basically looking at that center brighter core, and what you're going to see is an oval fuzz, and then it's going to be kind of a mottled effect that goes out to the edge. So it has detail there, and you should, on all galaxies, you really need to use inverted vision as you study it. So you can't tell what's going to pop into view, whether it's a faint star within the galaxy, which of course is not a galaxy star, but in the Milky Way. But anyway, there's just little things like that, the light and dark areas that are in the outside edges of the galaxy. And so the arms are just a little bit too faint for scopes, probably under 18 inches. But we do have larger scopes in the club. And so if you go to a star party, maybe Will and Eddie would let you look through their bigger scopes.
Maybe.
And so anyway, that's all I wanted to say about 2903. And
well, let's at least show them where it is, Howard, because I know we just zoomed in right on it. But if you do take the sickle, there you go.
Oh, yeah, here you go. And as Leo is rising, and the sickle pretty much now is kind of standing on end on the eastern part of the sky. Of course, as it gets around to the west, it's going to be what you'd say upside down because you're used to seeing it as it's rising. But anyway, at the end of the sickle, the last two stars in the sickle don't point exactly at it, but it's not that far. Plus, you can use the two end stars of the sickle and say, hey, it's farther out to 2903, but it looks like it might be 1.5 times out there. And since 2903 is a brighter galaxy, you really just have to kind of get in the area or just use your binoculars to run it down and then put your old telescope on it. And that's called star hopping, everybody. Mm-hmm. Star hopping, not computer hopping.
App hopping.
Yeah. Someday somebody's going to teach me how to computer hop. So, okay, any other suggestions, Will?
Well, I mean, I would suggest just using this little star right here, whatever this is, and then, like Howard said, find this the sickle and come out here, and then maybe if you see that star,
yes,
kind of get in the area, like Howard said. Star hopping is always an effective method, and just kind of come off and look in that area, and I bet you find it. Yeah,
that star would definitely be one to star hop with because number one, it's red, and it would attract your attention in the binoculars. And if you can find that little star, you're there. That's 95% of your problem of trying to find it, because certainly would be in your field of view off to the right. And if you got the right telescope, like a light bucket Dob.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, that's the upper end of the sickle, Leo's sickle.
And you can see the whole constellation here.
Yes.
Right there.
You sure can. And the sickle basically is the mane and the head of Leo. And so you know what the three stars down at the other end are then. And so anyway, and those stars are important because, you know, just to the left of those three, that beautiful 30, 60, 90 right triangle lies the Virgo cluster, just right out there. And another really rich, deep, well, that's the biggest cluster that I'm aware of. So
I think so.
and there's other clusters there is quite a few very important clusters in Leo that don't have time to really go into. And what is that there?
This is 65, 66, and
105? No.
no,
It's
36,
26, 80, 28.
Yeah.
36, 28. Yeah. And
Is that the Leo triplet?
that's the triplet. Yes.
Yeah. Right there under the triangle there.
Yeah. And so the thing about this group, and again, here all these spirals are in the 9th magnitude range. So that makes them all visible. And 3628 up here to the left that Will's showing, it's a little bit fainter in the telescope. It has the surface brightness is a little bit fainter on it. It doesn't have the really bright core that the other two galaxies have. So it's just a little bit fainter, but if you work at it, you can get that in, you know, I don't know if you can get it in 10 by 50 binoculars. Certainly in the 15 by 70s, you could. And in this group, another thing that's interesting about the Messier group here, groups, is the fact that they're approximately 31 million light years in distance away. And also, if they lie at that distance, it puts the galaxies from one galaxy to the next galaxy to the other galaxy approximately 200,000 light years apart. So when you look out there and look at that, you got a lot of history to look into, not only 31 million years ago, but now you can play like you're on a spaceship going from one to the other, and it's only 200,000 light years. So
Very close in the
yes,
the realm of galaxies. That's closer than next door neighbors. That's packed at a small concert or something.
right.
Very close.
These galaxies have, in your telescope, as you look, they got fairly large cores to them, and they're not stellar. And that means they're not like a star center. They're non-stellar points. So the cores are more spread out, and then they fade to the edges from the core. So all of those are similar. And I didn't have none of those were elliptical. They're all spirals. And so anyway, I think we're going to move on. And that's a group that's really, what is that called? Can't remember. But that's a small subgroup of galaxies. And now what we're going to up here, Will's going to go to M95, 96, and M105. And this group, again, this is another subgroup, and it's actually called the M96 subgroup. And it has 5 or 6 different galaxies in it, but one of the things is M105, which is up here or to the left in this picture, is this. You can tell that it doesn't really look like a spiral. Will can probably zoom in just a little bit closer. I don't know if he can or not.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And so right away it becomes apparent you do not have any spiral structure. And the little galaxy to the left is certainly elongated. And if I was looking at it, I would have to say that it also is, or not also, it is a spiral compared to the 105, which would be an EO. Let's see, I think I got that written down, what that is. I think. I think it's an EO1 is what that is. Might have been a 2, EO2. And so it's almost round. If it's more elongated, then it becomes a EO3 or an EO5 on down the line like that. So that is the one elliptical galaxy in this group of the M96 subgroup. And so we're going to move on over here to M95 and M96. And again, these galaxies are in the 9th magnitude range. And again, all of them are in the 31 million light years away, approximately. I'm sure, give or take several million light years, of course. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting to me that these two little subgroups are approximately the same distance. And the one thing about M105 up there is the fact that it's got the two other little triangle of galaxies to it. So that forms a nice little test in your telescope of the three little galaxies right there. The whole galaxy group you cannot get in one eyepiece field, as I remember. And so now I think you can get 95 and 96. These two are in the group, but you can't include 105. But so that's kind of interesting. But it's neat that you have this many Messier objects that are available to you. And
I think it's incredible that you can see an entire galaxy, not just one, but 3 or 4 or 5 entire galaxies in one field of view. That's just amazing to me, Howard.
Yes. Well, when you think back and they're saying there's hundreds of billions of galaxies, it's bound to happen, I guess. And so it is amazing. And now, of course, we know, our Andromeda Galaxy and M33, those galaxies are really close compared to 31 million light years. They're only, 1.5 or 2 million light years from us. Mm-hmm. So they are really close, the local group. And but the galaxies that are in this range of 30, let's say, million light years, I mean, the Hubble eats those things up. They can get fantastic pictures. And not only that, these days, the local astronomy club amateur photographers, they can get unbelievable pictures of these galaxies also. And so I don't know how they do it. But anyway, that's my little report, unless y'all got questions or something about it, and we can move on.
All right. And that's, Leo is a staple of the spring sky. If if you're going outside and you can't immediately show us where Leo is, then you need to practice, right? And constellation hunting is no different than galaxy hunting. It's all about memorization. And guess what? Once you memorize the constellations, they're not changing. They're not changing next week or next month or next year. They're not changing for the rest of our lifetime. So once you learn them, you know them.
That's your roadmap too.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. If you know the map, you can find all the little towns and stuff like Howard, all the galaxies Howard was talking about. That's your towns and your little subdivisions and your neighborhoods. And like Eddie said, the constellation is your roadmap. So
It is, without a doubt. And the constellations are a clock. If you think about the Big Dipper going around the North Star, and it takes 6 hours to go a quarter of the distance, you can sit there all night long and you know exactly what time it is by just glancing up where the Big Dipper is in relationship to Polaris.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So that's cool.
Yeah, well, thank you, Howard. And like Jeremy says, a lot of good stuff in Leo. Great talk. Yeah, I agree, Jeremy, 100%. Howard always brings the heat when it comes to the nighttime sky. So thank you, Howard, for that, of course.
Okay,
Great job,
you're
Howard.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll say hi to Mike from Wales.
Wow.
And Marina. That's an awesome name. Marina from Vancouver. Good to see y'all. Glad to have y'all. Thank you, Howard, again for that awesome presentation, man. It's great stuff. So as we're closing out tonight, I wanted to do a little quick thing on some stuff going on here in Texas. And maybe, since our club is based here in Texas, I thought it might be interesting for some of y'all to know how to go to South Padre and watch a launch. I mean, it's as easy as putting South Padre Island in your GPS and going out and waiting. But if you go out with a little bit of planning and you kind of know what the deal is, then you can get a better handle on how to view these rocket launches. Now, this is a picture that I took, I guess about a month ago now, or a little bit more than a month ago. It's kind of hard to keep track. I've been up and back so many times between here and South Padre. This is the SpaceX Boca Chica launch facility. There you go, Liz, Boca Chica. And this is both. There's two rockets in the frame here. One is being lifted onto its launch pad by that crane right there, which is called Bluto, or it's called Tankzilla. I guess whichever one you decide to call it that day. It's known as Bluto or Tankzilla. And it picks up a 160-ton rocket off of a truck. Believe it or not, there's a truck with about 1,000 wheels that rides these big rockets from their assembly facility just about a mile and a half down the road. They ride it out here to the launch facility, and they put it on these little launch stands. So on the left there, the rocket to the leftmost left or whatever is serial number 9. Now, that is Starship serial number 9. So we, as rocket chasers, we call them the SNs, SN8, SN9, SN10. So you've got SN9, which is this rocket right here. This is SN10, which is right here. And spoiler alert, guys, if you haven't been watching, both of these rockets are no more. They both met fiery ends. 9 a little more spectacularly than 10. 9, the rocket that looks smaller, it's just a little further away. That rocket landed on its side as it came in, exploded, parts went everywhere. 10 here on the right actually landed straight up and down, but it landed about 20 some odd miles an hour, which is too much for a 160-ton rocket to land. Didn't know that, but now SpaceX knows that. And it burned for about 8 minutes. There was a fire in the bottom of the rocket. And so I turned my camera off. The show was over, right? The rocket landed. It was leaning a little. I could see that. And I turned my camera off. I said, there's no more show. And just as I looked back, I was staring at the rocket right across the way there. The rocket exploded. The rocket then flew 300 feet into the air and came back down and landed on the landing pad, which was pretty crazy to see. I didn't catch it on film, but that was amazing to see with my own eyes. It was one of those things, right? Like we talked about earlier, like Eddie didn't have his camera to catch the aurora, but sometimes it's better just to watch something, and that was one of those things that, like, I was really frustrated I didn't catch that explosion, but at the same time, I got to watch a rocket explode, from 5 miles away.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Sounded like an unintentional launch and landing.
Yeah, it was the fastest turnaround between launch and landing that SpaceX has ever had, which was 8 minutes. So they flew the rocket, landed it, and then flew it again. The height was a little lower in altitude than 10 kilometers, and so that's what they're doing. They're hopping these things up to 10 kilometers, and then they turn the engines off and orient the rocket sideways and let it free fall. That's what those big fins are at the bottom and the sides of the rockets there. And they free fall the thing back down to the ground at terminal velocity, guiding it with those fins. They relight the engines and then try to land it vertically. Pretty complicated maneuver. You can see here, this was the aftermath. So you can see, if I go back to this image, see the black fence there? They've got this makeshift privacy fence going. Everything looks good. And then 9 exploded. You can see parts of it up to the left there. But that fence vaporized in the heat. There is no more fence there. So if you were standing where I was standing when I took this picture and where these guys are standing, you would pass away. If it launched and came back successfully, you would probably die because the sound would liquefy your organs. The sound is incredibly crushing. There's 3 Raptor engines on these things. It's some ridiculous amount of thrust. I mean, the rocket weighs 160 tons, 100 tons empty. And then you put, like, I think 30 to 40 tons worth of propellant in this thing. It's a pretty heavy rocket. It's made out of stainless steel. It's a pretty impressive system that they're doing there. And this was the day after SN9 flew and crashed. And again, you can see parts of it over here on the pad. This is actually the engine assembly. You can see parts of the rocket here. There were parts of it all on the road out here with us. So that it was fun going through some of that stuff. But here's how you do it. So this is sort of the lay of the land down there. This is the whole facility. So right at the top here, you'll see South Padre Island, very famous Texas beach. It's probably the best Texas beach we have as far as, like, clarity of water and purity of beaches and that sort of thing. Very nice waters, very clean. It's a beautiful place. Port Isabel, very famous town. And I believe that's the only town you can drive through to get to South Padre. So if you'll go to Port Isabel, I promise you. Plus, there's a Starbucks right here at the corner of 148, just for you coffee freaks. If you just can't stand it, there is a Starbucks there. Have no fear. And a Walmart and H-E-B. So it's not like you're out of civilization at all. There's plenty of stuff to do in the area. Of course, you got South Padre is a tourist town. So good luck getting in there around spring break. Or when the colleges let out and coronavirus is over. It should be pretty crazy. But if you look right down here, even Google Maps has it labeled out for us, the SpaceX launch facility. And you can see right here is where most everyone who does these launches and films them or watches them is right here at the south point of South Padre Island. And we'll talk about the park that's there in a second. But you can see right down across the way is where the rockets are launched from. Here is an aerial view of Isla Blanca Park. Now, that's this park right here. And believe it or not, this whole section, this whole bottom half, or this whole bottom area of South Padre Island is Isla Blanca Park. It's huge. It's ran by Cameron County. It's a nice county park, very well kept up. You can see all these RV spots, and they've got them crammed in here like sardines. Wow. There's got to be at least 100 or more camper and RV spots there. They've got a little subdivision up here to the north side of the park. That's a whole area. They've got this whole area, and then this looks a little bit more spread out. Beach access. You can just walk to the beach from your camper, your car, or whatever. This is the amphitheater side. Okay, so keep that in mind, just in the back of your mind, the amphitheater side. And this is the I don't know, the other side. I guess maybe we'll call it the main side. And this is where I've done every launch, is right about in here on this little tip of the island right here. I filmed the last 2 from there. And it's a great view. It's only 5 miles north of the launch facility, so you will see the launch, no doubt about it. Again, you can pretty much do a launch from anywhere in the area, but you want to be able to kind of see the rocket on the ground as it starts to go. That's the exciting part, and then to get to see it land again, of course. If you are in Brownsville or Harlingen or one of those towns to the west, you will definitely still see the launch. You'll probably even still hear it, but you'll want to be here. And I'm telling you, you want to be on Isla Blanca Park. So you got to get there early, and I'm talking dawn is when I get there, because you never know when these SpaceX launches are going to go. There's not a T-minus. There's not this big fancy clock over there that's like, "Ooh, we got 2 minutes, yay!" It's like, man, no, they scrubbed again. Okay, great, because this is a test program, so there's a lot of unknowns in this, right? So it is kind of a waiting game, and that's part of the process of rockets. Even if you have a nice T-minus and you're going in an hour, there might be an issue with the rocket or weather or some other unforeseen thing, a range violation, who knows? And it could cause that launch to be a delay, but this is a test program, so there's a lot of delays. And again, so amphitheater side over here, this is a viable area to do it from. The view is really good, and the view is really good from Bait Shop Road, which I didn't know it was called that till I opened Google. And there you go. You can park all along in here. There's parking lots over here. This is a massive parking lot up here. You can park and then walk out here. And there's just nothing but space. You can go out along the jetty if you want. You can stay right in here. There's people fishing off the docks here, or not docks, but the water.
Jetty.
Yeah, the jetty. There's just all kinds of fishing, and there's boats coming in and out. It's really cool. It's a touristy kind of place, and then there's rockets now, which is an even better to go somewhere, in my opinion. I mean, what does my opinion matter? Not much. But one place you will want to stay is Beach Resort at South Padre Island. I've been staying there the last several times. I've gone back and forth down there. Super nice people. They're always very courteous. The hotel was a Schlitterbahn hotel. There was a Schlitterbahn water park right next door to this place, and it's right in between Isla Blanca Park. So this is actually the closest hotel you can get to Isla Blanca Park, where you're going to want to watch the launch from. They got great rates. It's a nice hotel. Again, it's in transition from being a Schlitterbahn hotel to, I guess it's Holiday Inn Beach Resort. It's a really nice place. They have a restaurant. This is a restaurant with rooms below it. You can see the beaches right there. Literally, you can walk out of your room, head down to the beach, enjoy the day that they scrubbed, and you got to go home early and take a nap or something, when you knew they weren't going to launch that day, but tomorrow's the day, so we might as well go kill some time on the beach. That's been, the kind of the status quo for a South Padre Island trip. I'll tell you that much. A lot of chilling on the beach, which is, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, there is nothing wrong with a little beach time, watching the waves come in. It's just amazing. This was my setup for the last launch for SN10. You can see that I have my Sony A7S Mark II camera there with the Sony FE lens. It got me right inside the rocket without being anywhere near it. If you want to watch the full videos uncut, they're about 8 to 10 minutes long each. I wasn't going to run them here tonight because for time constraints and that sort of thing. They're on my YouTube channel, Deep Sky Dude. You can go to YouTube Deep Sky Dude, and it will you'll see the videos right there. SN9 and SN10 is what I've been able to shoot lately. So that's how I did it. And one thing I also wanted to note about this, if you look, this is the SpaceX facility right here. So now we're looking at the southernmost point in Texas that you can get, which is right about here. This is the Rio Grande, and it flows and it goes right into the Gulf of Mexico, just right there. You can actually take this historic Highway 4 or Boca Chica Boulevard, whatever you want to call it. You can ride right to the end of it and either park or drive your car, if you want to, down the beach. And you can go down here to where the Rio Grande empties into the Gulf of Mexico, which is pretty cool. But if you want to cross the river, you do have to have a passport, guys. So just make sure you you don't cross the thing without a passport. It might take you a little longer than you thought. This is actually the launch and landing facility right here at the top of this image. And if you come back down the road a little bit, this is Boca Chica Village, or what maybe now we might be referring to as what used to be called Boca Chica Village, because Elon Musk, the local billionaire in town, has decided he wants to change the town name to Starbase, Texas. And I thought that was cool. I was like, wow, that's pretty neat. Starbase, Texas. Never had a town called that before in Texas, but it turns out the locals are not happy about this at all. And once I heard 5 or 6 people express their colorful thoughts about this, I understood why. And it makes a lot of sense. And now I'm on board with them because the name has a historic meaning. It's been around for a long time. Civil War battles were fought down here, folks. This place has been it was actually the last battle of the Civil War was fought right down the road from Boca Chica at Palomino, the Palomino Ranch area. And it was and the South won. They beat the Northerners, but they didn't realize that like a month and a half or so before that, the South had surrendered. So it was a battle that no one needed to fight or die in.
Wow.
People did. And then they found out, oh, the war's over. And it's been over for like 2 months. Nobody told y'all. Y'all should have not fought these dudes. Y'all should have probably had coffee with them or something, you know. Little piece of trivia.
Crazy.
Yeah, a little piece of trivia there for you. And it was like just right down here on the Rio Grande, right before after the Civil War ended. Very historic place. It's beautiful. A lot of nice natural wetlands. There's sea turtles here. It's a very cool area. This is a picture, and I got to give mad props to these guys, the Rio Grande Valley aerial photography guys. These guys rent a Cessna 152, and they fly around the launch site in the plane with a nice lens, kind of like mine, and they take pictures of the place for us. And you can see here, Boca Chica Village right up here. You can see the SpaceX assembly facility right here, and you can see the actual launch area itself. Again, this is a public road, so when the road is open, folks, you can go out there. You can go out there and sit right across the road from the facility. You can like eat a hot dog and stare at the security guards while you do it. You know, you can wave at them. They probably won't wave back. They might. You know, they're kind of friendly people, but everything is really cool down there. Nobody's acting weird and trying to get into the facility, and you know the security guards aren't messing with us because it's a public road. They have no jurisdiction over us really, and everybody's really cool. It's kind of like a tailgating kind of thing. If you've ever tailgated a basketball game or a football game or something, it's a lot like that. You know, there's people hanging out, there's music, there's people taking pictures, people are laughing, sharing stories and stuff. It's really kind of a special vibe down there, and it's cool to experience that. I challenge all of y'all to definitely come down and experience it with us. But it's a really cool place. And then the RGV aerial photography guys put this together, and I had to share this because they did just such a phenomenal job with this. This is actually an aerial photograph that they took, RGV aerial photography, of this area. And then Cameron County just released the stuff you see in white is the proposed expansion of the SpaceX facility. And you can see that it doubles in size over the next couple of years. So, it's it's going to get pretty big. I won't go into the details of what you're seeing here because a lot of it I could sit here and nerd out for like an hour and a half as far as like the orbital launch pads they're building, the gantry tower foundations they're building. They're building another landing pad. You can see down into the left there. And all this is in a national preserve. I don't know how they managed to work that up, but they managed to build a rocket facility in the middle of a national preserve, which is
Called money.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but it's got to be some kind of feat of something. And anyway,
was Elon Musk down there when they were doing the shot?
He was actually. he was in there just the day after SN10 crashed or exploded and then crashed. He was there the day after while I was out there, actually. And I was actually live streaming, I think it was on Facebook or YouTube or one of them. I was live streaming just kind of out there at the wreckage site. And my buddy Juan is a friend of mine I just met down there, a few weeks ago. We became fast friends. He's a local, lives in the area. So he's down there a lot. And he came up to my van and he was like mouthing something to me. And I'm like, what are you saying? And he's like, that's Elon Musk. And I was like, oh, wow. And I could tell way over there that was Elon Musk. And so I kind of zoomed in on him, and he was with his team out there doing whatever they're doing, trying to figure out what the problems were and what the stuff was. But yeah, he was definitely out there. So I got a little video of him and put it online. Of course, that video went crazy. Like, here's a video of the local billionaire standing next to a rocket, and people love videos like that. So hey, whatever, it's all good. But yeah, he definitely. Yeah, go ahead.
I like the robot dog.
Yeah,
the robot dog to me was, aside from the rocket crashing, was the best part of your video.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie, for reminding me of that, because there's so much going on down there that I forget about half this stuff. And yeah, so they have if you've heard of the Boston Dynamics robots, pretty scary stuff, honestly. It's a robot dog, like Eddie said. Named the one they have out there is named Zeus. Of course, because it's a very cliche dog name, I guess. And Zeus was out there inspecting the launch pad before and after.
He's out there on his own. There's nobody controlling him that you can see. He's just walking around. Looks like he's a robot dog.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. And like you said, it's a little dog, and it kind of hops around. The one creepiest thing it did, Eddie, which was kind of crazy, I didn't get video of it, but he was walking out onto the pad, and then he just sat down. And this thing can sit flat like a piece of paper, it looks like, because it was like, what is that on the pad? And I was like, oh, man, Zeus is sitting. And he has this big tower thing on top of his head. I guess it's maybe LiDAR or some kind of like mapping equipment. And that's really all you could see was the yellow body of Zeus with that little thing sticking up. And he sat out there for maybe 10 minutes. And then he got back up and trotted off, and we were all creeped out. And, because, again, it's a beautiful thing to see, but it is a little creepy. But, yeah, Zeus was very, very cool. We were joking that he was eating rocket parts. That's what he feeds on. He was out looking for rocket parts.
He was eating sprockets.
Yes, yeah, just data connectors and just all anything he could find, he was munching on it. Here's another awesome picture from RGV Aerial Photography. These guys are just amazing. They really help us get a bird's eye view into what's going on down there. And I believe this was after SN8 crashed. You can see the nose cone of 8 out there. Excuse me, on the landing pad or the crashing pad, whichever you want to call it. Yeah. And then SN10 to the left and 9 to the right. And
are the fins, are they movable? Or do they move those during the flight?
Yeah, they do.
So back down?
When they're going up, they're fully extended straight out. And then when the belly flop maneuver comes, they fold the wings into the side. And that's how they kind of steer the rocket, because there's no real propulsion once it's falling. So they extend the front or the back, and they can extend one or the other and kind of, roll the ship around. And as it's falling, that, helps it move a direction that it needs to go. Every time they've crashed directly into what they were trying to land on. So they're extremely accurate with this. Of course, we know they've been doing this for a while with the Falcon 9 rockets. They've been landing those for years now. This is a different animal. That's, people are like, well, why can't they just land these like they land the Falcons? Different rocket, different system, different, these Raptor engines are methane powered, methane and oxygen, versus the Raptor or the Merlins, which is what's on the Falcon 9. It's a different system altogether, different engine. But yeah, so check out Rio Grande Valley Aerial Photographers. These guys are great. They're always putting out new videos and stuff, so you can watch the updates of this in real time as it happens for us. And again, if you want to go out there, all you got to do is just stay on this side of the road out here, and you're good to go. You can sit out there and have lunch, watch the activities going on. You might get lucky. You might see Zeus. You might see Elon Musk. You never know. It's just a crazy place down there, and you might meet somebody you'll forever call a friend, which has happened to me on more than one occasion. So I definitely challenge all of y'all to go out there. This was a time lapse of SN10. So that's SN10 right there. You can see the launch pad to the left is empty. That's where 9 used to be. And SN10 was to fly the next day. And of course, we all know the fate of that. It ended up what they call a RUD, a rapid unplanned disassembly, which I think is a very creative way to say explosion, which is fun. Just call it a RUD, and it sounds less catastrophic. But this was, my post was, is this the last sunset on SN10? And it was. The rocket was ill-fated, and it died the next day. But that's a test program, folks. That's how this goes. So it's fun to be a part of it and to watch all this, even just as a casual observer. Here's a little video of that same rocket you just saw, standing straight, upright. This was the sort of the wreckage. I guess if I switch back, it stops the movie. There we go. I'll just keep it on this screen for a second, guys. You can see they're in full, let's break this thing down and get it out of here mode. I assume those trailers that they have there are for the important parts they want to investigate later. Most of the rocket fell into the pad this time when it exploded. So there wasn't a big debris field, although you can see right there one of the what we call the COPVs. And actually, I'll just go back to that for a second there, if I can. And that's what we call the COPVs, the carbon overwrapped pressure vessels. There's a bunch of these on board, and these are to orient the spacecraft when it gets up into the higher altitudes. Instead of using traditional RCS or reaction control thrusters, or reaction control system, I should say, which used, hypergolic, I think, like hydrazine and things like that, very dangerous chemicals. These use cold gas thrusters. It's compressed or cryogenic nitrogen gas, which is what we're breathing when we're not compressed or cryogenic. It's just nitrogen gas, right? But this thing was bigger. It was about the size of a car as far as the length goes. And it was maybe about, 2 feet, 2.5 feet or 3 feet in diameter or so. It's a big thing. It's a plastic tube with carbon fiber wrapped on top. So the carbon overwrapped pressure vessel, right? COPV. And so this was one of the pieces. If you watch the explosions of all these rockets, when they hit, there's these little black things that shoot off like missiles after the explosion happens. And that's one of these multiple of these COPVs. They are under extreme pressure. And when they rupture, they are missiles, y'all. They launch themselves 1.5 miles away from the crash site, which is pretty cool. It's definitely a sight to see. If you haven't seen these explosion videos, guys, you gotta go check them out. If just type in Starship on YouTube, and you'll run into more things than you can consume. But that was the rocket itself. You can see the group of 3 over there. The guy holding his hand up, that's Elon Musk. The farthest most right of that group of 3. It's actually 4 people, but one's obscured. But he's over there discussing with his engineers. You can see a little wider shot, just to give you a little perspective of how big this thing is. And they're standing several feet away from this vehicle. Construction never stops out here. They're cleaning this rocket up while they're building cement pads off to the left. And they're, you can see the heavy loaders moving sand and stuff around. And it's a busy place. It's a busy place. There's a lot going on. If you stay out there long enough, you'll see history being made moment to moment. Whether they succeed or fail out here, time will tell. But right now, it's pretty cool to see it in these phases. And I just wanted to give you guys a little basic heads up on how to do this down there, and in the future I might make a longer form video of this is where you shouldn't go. These are restaurants you should not eat, because I definitely have a list of places you should not eat in South Padre Island. I'm looking at you, Senor Donkey. worst restaurant in Texas, Senor Donkey. Don't even do it. Don't even think about doing it. But do, and I hate to sound cliche, do eat at Joe's. Joe's Oyster Bar, in Port Isabel. Some of the best seafood I've ever had in my life, y'all. Like their oysters shucked in real time and then fried right in front of your face, given to you on a platter. Guys, it's amazing. I'm not being paid to endorse Joe's Oyster Bar, but you got to go. It's the best. And as we close out the meeting tonight, Book Davies says, yeah, Whataburger. There is a Whataburger on the island. It is open 24 hours a day. However, the inside closes at 11. So if you're looking to get free refills until your heart is content, you have until 11 p.m. to make that happen. I assume after COVID and everything, they'll open back up to full, but that's the way it goes. One thing you can check out, guys, as we're closing out, if you get on the Gulf of Mexico and you're lucky enough to get clear skies, you can do something like this. You have to know where the moon is, of course. This was my first moonrise that I ever shot. I've always wanted to shoot one like this, but the opportunity never presented itself. But you can see the moon breaking the horizon. Clouds, not a cloud for hundreds of miles. It has to be, because it has to be clear all the way down the horizon, right? And so it's just kind of a loop on here. And I kind of, you can see the oil rig off to the left. Pretty cool. The waves coming in. And I was just right there at the beach resort, Holiday Inn Beach Resort, and filmed this. I had Sky Safari Pro. I knew the moon was coming up in that general area over there. I kind of zoomed in and just waited. And whenever Sky Safari Pro told me the backside of the moon, or the terminator, was breaking the horizon, I hit record on a video, and then I let it roll. And I think it was about a 20-minute video or so, which I sped up to get what you're seeing here. And I've been wanting to catch this shot, y'all, for years. And it's taken me years to finally get the stars to align to get this. But you can see that teardrop effect that you see during like a Venus or Mercury transit, where when Mercury or Venus broke the limb of the sun, there it looks like a teardrop that kind of separates, and then both objects are now one again. And you can see it right there above the ocean, which I thought was pretty cool. And this is one I got during SN9. The one I got during SN10 is this one. And pretty proud of this one too. This was another horizontal. I don't even know how you say it. Moonrise, but the clouds made this one extra creepy. There were some upper level clouds probably off the Gulf, maybe 100 miles or so. And you can see the moon rising just right through them. And I sort of followed it up, and you can see how the atmosphere is thicker over there, right? So it distorts the moon a little bit, which is very cool. And this was kind of like, I was like looking at my clock, and I was like, man, the moon's coming up. I'm really tired from doing all this rocket stuff. Do I really want to stay up and capture this? And the answer is always yes. So I was able to get this one, and you could just see it right there. The moon looks bigger on the horizon. And actually, the moon is actually the same size. In fact, the moon is actually squished when it's on the horizon. If I go back and roll this video from the beginning, you can see, look at the image of the moon, how flat it is. It is as flat as a pancake. And then as it gets up here, you see it starts to become that shape of the moon that we all know and love.
I was blowing it up.
Exactly. You need Howard to inflate the moon, or what are you going to do? But yeah, so Boca Chica.
That's some great detail there, Will. That's
yeah, and it's
very
just
good.
A nice atmospheric shot, to a little video there. And again, I've been chasing that for years. Never could get the weather and timing, my own schedule, and the right gear to work out, but it finally did. And I've caught like 3 now from South Padre Island, which is pretty cool. So if you don't catch a rocket that day, maybe you can catch a moonrise instead. And just a little food for thought. So that's the end of my my spiel on Boca Chica. I know we went a little over tonight, but hey, that's how it goes. And we'll get to some comments here as we're closing out. I know I missed a bunch of y'all's up here. Yeah, let's hope they don't get robo rabies from Zeus. Yeah, that's a legitimate concern. I'm telling you, I don't want to ever meet that robot dog in person. That would be a heck of a thing to see, that fence simply vaporizing. Absolutely. Yeah. I would, again, you wouldn't want to be there. Yeah, because it'd be a bad day for you. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see the before and after there. Keith says it appears they just fold out though, not like an aircraft stabilator. Yeah, they do. They can stick straight out, or they can fold aft to the rocket. That's it. They can only do like this, and they're huge. Those fins, they don't look very big, but they are absolutely huge. And then there's Sharon Rigsby. Good to see you, Sharon. Fabulous Moonrise. Well, thank you, Sharon.
Hi, Sharon.
Good to see you. We can't wait to be back in the planetarium. Yeah, one of these days. Jeremy says, good show. You guys have a top-notch production. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy. It's all Eddie. He makes sure all these shows get put together, and without him, I have no idea what we would do. Let's see.
Of course he's lying. I just show up.
Yeah.
Will does it all.
Yeah, Howard fixes everything for us.
Yeah, right.
He says, thanks for the info on the thrusters. I did not know they used compressed gas versus hypergolic. Way cool. Yeah. And which makes picking up the rocket parts afterwards even safer. You don't have to worry about all those horrible chemicals getting in you. Yeah, atmospheric refraction. That's exactly right. Robbie says, oh, wow, a squished moon. Never seen that before. I had never filmed it before either. I'd always seen it and heard about the squished moon, because everybody's like, oh, the moon's bigger on the horizon. Like Eddie was saying, no. I don't think so. It's actually squished a little bit. And then once it gets those layers of atmosphere, because you're looking through more air that way than you are straight up. Double air mass, isn't it right? Or 3 times air mass, I think, right above the horizon. Something like that. Okay, and then Sharon says, hi, guys. I miss y'all. Great meeting. Well, thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much for joining as always. We always appreciate all of y'all that join us and hang out with us here. We miss hanging out with you guys in person. We miss doing outreach. We've had several events throughout the year or more that we've been under lockdown that we've had to cancel. And hopefully sooner than later, we get back to business as usual with outreach in the club, and we can get back out and start doing real star parties again. I look forward to Rocky Mountain Star Stare. I look forward to Okie Tex and El Dorado Star Party. I would assume that those 3 will probably go forward, if not just the Okie Tex and El Dorado Star Parties. Yeah, and if guys, if y'all have anything else to add before we go, Howard, do you have any last minute words of wisdom?
I don't have wisdom anymore. But I thought it was a great show. I certainly enjoyed seeing Boca Chica and learning a little bit about that. And you haven't invited me to go down with you yet, so I've been waiting.
Yeah. Well, Howard, you can go anytime, man. If you wait long enough, you might even be able to see the launch from your house if you can get your 17.5-inch telescope out. It might be doable.
There you go.
Might be doable. But it's good to have you, Howard, as always, man. Thank you for the perspective on Leo, because that's a great constellation. I think some of us seasoned astronomers kind of forget about some of those cool Messiers in there because we're off to other pastures,
Yeah.
And like you said,
the report's really more of an astronomy lesson than it is galaxy hunt or something like that. It's just learning astronomy in general.
Yeah, no, I agree. I absolutely agree. And Mr. Eddie Trevino, do you have any?
Good job, Eddie.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, thanks, guys. Both of you are just wonderful to talk with and to learn from. And I'm constantly fascinated by your abilities, Will. And Howard, you do a great job as always. You've taught me from day one, and like Will says, you bring us back to the basics. You know, the Leo triplet, something I haven't looked at in a while, but it's up now, so now's the time.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
And I see we've got a stalker back there. Is Kat stalking us again? Yeah, there she is. I knew it. I knew it. Hey, Kat.
She's been taking care of our. She's been taking care of our dog while I'm doing this meeting.
Oh.
We had a long road trip to get here, and we're all kind of stir crazy.
Yeah. You all got your shots now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We do too.
I haven't got mine yet. That's why I'm still in quarantine. So I'm working on it, though. I need to get on a list or something. I don't know. I think they're finally at my age group around the area. So
Yeah.
I should be able to get, although I'm kind of waiting for the Johnson & Johnson one. I hate needles. Howard and I talked about this today. And if I see a needle come in my direction, you'll have to pick me up off the floor for some reason. I don't know why. It's really a dumb thing. But I'm hoping maybe I can get that Johnson & Johnson one, go for one shot and then only have to wake up off the floor once.
My daughter got the Johnson & Johnson. Yeah.
Cat could give it to you.
And then pick you up off the floor.
Yeah, and then pick me up off the floor. Also, you know, I didn't want the Moderna one because it sounds, you know, a little horrible. That Johnson & Johnson one sounds so soothing, like some baby oil, or you know, it's like Johnson & Johnson, the people that brought you the COVID vaccine. Moderna sounds like something you're going to pay extra for or something. I don't.
That's what we had.
Yeah, of course, both of them are great. I mean, if you have access to the COVID vaccine, you should definitely take it, so we can get back to normal here, guys. So we can get back to bothering each other at star parties. I can't wait to bother both of these guys at star parties again, or just in general. You know, be able to drop by and visit somebody would be great. Yeah, and then Brian brings up a great point. One shot, exactly. One shot, one COVID kill. You know, it's the
Are
sniper.
you still there, Brian?
He's still there. He's still there.
Very good.
So, guys, I want to thank y'all again for joining us on a random Friday night, the first Friday of every month. We try to have a meeting. Although one of these months coming up, there's a schedule conflict, which will probably just move the meeting to the following Friday night because we're all flexible here, right? We can all meet and do that. And that's the beauty of having an astronomy club that's as laid back as we are. It's a great group to be in, and it's just overall fun to hang out with these guys. And Brian says he's here. He's here for the long haul, Howard. You're gonna have to deal with Brian for a lot longer, I think, than you thought. Hey, welcome to the show, Gloria. You're just at the end, but hey, the beautiful part about this is you can hit rewind and watch the whole thing all over again if you want to, and because it's always online. We are the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas, guys. That'll conclude our March indoor meeting of the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas. We are a 501c3 nonprofit here in Texas, Southeast Texas. If you want to join the club, you definitely can. We'd love to have y'all. And it'd be great to have y'all as a member of the club, even if you're from somewhere far away. We'll make Eddie's job interesting this year and start taking in people from Canada and wherever y'all want to join from. We'll make Eddie's job fun. So we appreciate that. Thank y'all to everyone who watched tonight, stayed in the comments, hung out with us. Robbie's says, I'm truly impressed with your rocketry knowledge. Deep Sky Dude, very impressed. Well, thank you. I know very little about rockets. I'm learning more and more. But doing that kind of thing will definitely teach you a thing or two. Duster, thank you for joining us. Thank y'all to everyone who shared the stream. If you shared it on Facebook, we really appreciate that. Share it on YouTube. We also appreciate that. And I don't have anything else, guys, from Mr. Howard Miner, Mr. Eddie Trevino, Mrs. Kat Trevino, and myself and my wall of guitars. We thank y'all for joining us. Tune in next month and we'll have another meeting. And then hopefully later on down the road this year, we'll be meeting in person again, which will be great. So,
I'm ready.
Me too. I agree.
Everybody just be cool.
Yeah. Just be cool.
Cool dudes.
Just be cool. We'll be all right.
Be
Cool
sensible.
big sky dude.
That's right. Yeah. Be sensible. Wash your hands, y'all. Wear your masks and take showers. You know, all that normal stuff. Like it's a shame we have to say all this normal stuff, but you know, let's take care of ourselves and let's take care of someone else in the process of taking care of ourselves. Right. So we love you guys. Thank y'all for joining us. We'll see y'all next month right here on the Astronomical Society of Southeast Texas.
See y'all later. Thanks a lot.